What up, everybody? I'm Dave Miranda, and this is episode 53 of Just Give Me 5. I hope you guys are doing great. Continue to be amazing. We got a really dope show ahead of us today. But if you guys caught episode 52, you saw we had my man Joey Boy on. And let me tell you, that guy has got some stories. You know, I actually was text messaging with him earlier this morning, and I told him that he needs to either start a podcast or write a book. He was like, yo, everybody's been telling me to write a book, man. Maybe I'll do it. I'm like, you should, man. You got so many stories, and those things need to be told, man, because, you know, they're so influential in so many different ways. You could be inspiring people, whether they want to be in radio, whether, you know, the industry, you name it, right? So we'll see what he does, man. But make sure you guys watch episode 52 because that was a really great one. All right. But today's guest has been a staple in the Arizona DJ community since the early 2000s. We're going to talk about how he got into Furious Styles' crew. We're going to talk about his tour in Germany with Shining Soul. We're also going to talk about some of his DJ battles that he's had and much more. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you DJ Reflekshin.
Yo, what up? DJ Reflekshin, Furious Styles crew, cooling out. And all I'm saying is, I schlafe deine Zid. Well, I knew what DJing was through my brother, Tribal Touch, shout out to Tribal Touch. When I was younger, he was a DJ then, and I knew what DJing was, but we'll just go from that and fast forward to when I was in high school. We used to buy, I'm pretty sure you did as well, the Source magazine, rap pages. Remember in the back of the Source, they had like the DJ page, the little DJ in a box stuff, and there was also a page on there where you could order tapes from New York DJs. Yeah. You send like $5 to this little address on the bottom to get a sticker off. They would send you like 3 or 4 tapes of New York DJs. So I got those, got them in the mail. Fast forward again, checked those out. I was like, oh, this I don't know what this is yet. And I started hearing. Then the internet was coming up, Netscape, for those of you who remember Netscape, dial up and all that. So I would look where I could, and I started seeing the name Qbert. And Mixmaster Mike, the DMCs, and all these other parts of DJing come into the realm, and I started looking into it more. By the time I want to say that I was a sophomore, I had a good idea of what DJing was, as far as like scratching, DJing, like actual DJing is just playing music, as far as like Bad Boy Bill, stuff like that, and you know, like Carl Cox and things like that, like the actual DJing part of the raves kind of thing. And then there was this other side of the hip hop side too, and then there was also the turntablist side, which wasn't really a thing back then, but it was the scratching, the beat juggling, all this crazy stuff that was happening, the DMCs. So I got into all that. So fast forward again to my senior year, I had a well-roundabout idea of what DJing was, and I was captivated by it. I was like, man. And at that point, I've already gotten into graffiti. I started breaking a little bit and stuff like that. But graffiti, it would cost money. You got to steal and do all this stuff to get paint, rack paint. So, and I come from a small town on a reservation. Not too many walls you can get up on the reservation until somebody finds out it's you. Maybe the only one of the, you know, so I couldn't do that. Breaking, it was fun, it gave me some rhythm, but then I learned DJing, and I just fell in love with how you can get involved with all 4 elements. Also the MCing side, I also tried to be an MC for a little bit of my life too, so. But as far as DJing, I figured out that's the best way for me to interact with the MCs, because you play all the instrumentals, you play all the beats, they can get hype, rock over any beat, drop 16s, and then the B-boys, you can get the ciphers moving, they can battle, they can do whatever they gotta do, and also the graffiti writers are in the background, and you're basically the soundtrack to what they're painting. So I figured that would be the best way for me to interact with the whole realm of hip hop, which I was in love with at the time. So that's how the DJing part came about, and then rest is history. After that, now we're here. Furious Styles. All right, this is an interesting one. It's actually, I sit back and reflect on it every now and then. And I actually met Furious Styles crew at a jam back on the reservation. I want to say it was in Kayenta. My boy KP threw a jam up there, and it was a B-boy battle. And I want to say that's where I first met House, B-boy House. I want to say it was Johnny that was with them, and I can't remember if Mr. Groove was there, but I remember meeting them way back then, what, man, almost 16 years ago, I want to say, give or take. I met them way back then. They probably didn't remember me because they didn't know who anybody from the reservation. But I met them back then. Fast forward, I moved to Phoenix right shortly after that, and then just going out, being out in the hip hop scene, going to the blunt clubs, going to their jams, all the anniversaries, going to random b-boy events, anything that was going on, and I became friends with a good majority of them, Miracles, Mr. Groove, B-Boy House, and all those, and we'd always see each other out and about, we'd always give each other daps, so we became friends first, and just always showed love to each other, and then fast forward again, I want to say I've been down for 4 years now, 4 years going on 5. We got done doing a jam, and they pulled me in the back, like, yo, come here. I'm like, what did I do? Like, oh, like, so I go in the back, yeah. It was kind of like that, like, felt like I was gonna get jumped. So they're like, yo, come back here. I was like, oh, like, what did I do? All right, so I walk in, Groove standing there. At the time when they were there, where they were down, it was Mace, Weapon X, and Groove, I want to say, we're all back there. They just start walking up to me, and I'm like, oh, it's about to go down. What's about to happen? Like, what did I do? Like, who did I disrespect? And then House just comes out of nowhere. He has with the Fear Style shirt. He goes, now you're official. Go ahead, throw it up. They're like, you good? I was like, oh, that just like set the world like bright on me. I was like, yo, I can't believe, like, I've been knowing you guys for 16 plus years, and like the whole crew, the b-boy scene, the hip hop scene. You guys have been like one of the foundations here in Arizona, and I was like, yo, like, I couldn't believe it. And at the time, I told my girl, and she was like, what? Like, no way. And every time I tell people that now, like, oh, I'm down with Furious Styles crew, they're like, yo, that's crazy, that's this and that. So, but that's how I got to be down with Furious Styles crew. So it was kind of like I was getting ready to jump in, like, but they broke out a jump rope and we got down. So.
Yeah, nice.
One of the cool things about being down with Furious Styles is I always knew who Z-Trip was, right? And I always knew, I was like, yo, Z-Trip's one of the guys I look up to, and then all of a sudden they're like, yo, he's gonna be playing the anniversary. I was like, what? So it was pretty dope. I got to share the turntables with DJ Z-Trip at Furious Styles anniversary. I want to say it was the 25th anniversary. He was there. We were upstairs at Monarch, and he did the finals for the footwork battle. I want to say it was the footwork battle, but that's probably one of the moments that stand out as far as being part of Furious Styles, being able to share the turntables with DJ Z-Trip. Oh, Germany, that was a total culture shock to me. It was totally, it was a new world. And it is a new world, but a kid coming from a small reservation town and traveling overseas, seeing a whole different set of people, a whole different community, a whole different culture, I was blown away. So when I went, I had to meet the homies, shout out to Shining Soul, MC Liaison, and Bronze Candidate. They were already over there, so I had to travel from here to Germany by myself. So I was there, I got all my stuff, we got on the plane. I almost missed my flight in Philly because the flight was late, so I'm running across they already knew who I was, what plane I was coming from, because it's an international flight. So I'm like, yo, you gotta go, come on. Like, so a guy comes out and gets me, he's like, we gotta go. So he tells me straight down. So I start running through the airport. I'm going, I get in, all right, cool. And the lady sitting next to me is like, oh, you're the one we're waiting for, huh? I was like, yeah, sorry, like, not my fault. But she was cool. And got on a plane, got over there, and I'm trying to navigate this whole other country by myself. Right. And the cool thing about it, though, everything's in English. You know, they cater to English-speaking people, so it was a little bit easier. Yeah. But it was basically just mix and match number by number. I'm looking at everything B12, looking over here, running around. So I get there, I get off, and then I go to the train station. This is the funny part of the train station. I get there, and like I said, I have no idea where I'm going. Right. The times, I'm like, all right, 6:15 is when I got to be on this next plane. Yeah, cool. All right, the train's coming. This is the number. So I go to the train station, I'm sitting down. I'm sitting there for about 30 minutes. I'm like, when is this train still supposed to be here? And after a while, I finally asked somebody, a few people just kind of walked by me, they didn't speak English, but like, this train's leaving are supposed to get here at this time. And he looks at it, he goes, no, this is your train. It leaves at this time. So I almost missed my train to go to Frankfurt. And the whole time I'm sitting in front of it. I'm sitting right in front of the train. Yeah, so I'm sitting there hanging out, and I'm like, oh, this is my train. So get my stuff, I go on there, I get in the car. I'm like, wow, these are nice. I look up, free Wi-Fi, here's a password. Like, yo, they're balling over here. That's cool. So I sit down, I get comfy, get in the comfy chair. The guy comes up, let me see your ticket. Oh, you're back. This is first class, you gotta go back. So I'm like, figures. So I get up, go to the next car back, get settled, come in, here he comes again. No, I said back. I'm like, all right, get my stuff up again.
Right.
First class, gone. Bench table, some seats. That was it. I was like, all right, it's a big difference, but so it was still a cool experience. So, and I was already dead tired because I already traveled for like 12 hours, 14 hours on a plane, and I didn't want to go to sleep on the train because I don't want to miss my stop. Because nobody's gonna wake me up, say, hey, here's your stop. So I stayed up, got there, got to the airport, checked in. First thing I'm gonna do is check in with family. Had to go sit to McDonald's, trying to find a Wi-Fi. I'm sitting there doing everything. So checked in, went to the next town, got to Frankfurt, got off the train, got welcomed. Liaison and candidate were there and got greeted. First thing they did is offered me a beer. I guess that's custom over there. Yeah. And on the beer note, the thing that's cool about that is beer's cheaper than water over there. So that was something that tripped me out. Right. That beer was cheaper than water, and it's the tall beers too. Yeah. So I thought that was kind of weird, but then I learned more history about it. Is that they really watch what they put into their food and everything like that. And then on there it says no sugar, tells you what's in there, and then all that crazy processed stuff. And so we get there and we go eat, and everywhere we went was either vegan or vegetarian for a little while. Oh. And I was like, why? Like, all the questions like, why is everybody vegan or vegetarian? Yeah. And then I found out mad cow disease. Oh, yeah. Mad cow disease, so they didn't eat meat a lot for centuries or years or however long it was, so they just got accustomed to eating the way they do. And I guess it would be kind of like New York vibe too, where there's little corner spots on every corner. You can they go every morning. The people that hosted us went down and got fresh bread. They got fruit and stuff like that for us to eat. Yeah. They went down to the corner market, and every morning everything was fresh. It was pretty dope, man. And being in another country, coming from here, is a total eye opener. So anybody who asks me how it was going to Germany, what was it like, I tell everybody, get a passport. Just go check it out for yourself. It's gonna change your perspective on how you look at things. It's gonna change your perspective on how you look at people. It's just gonna open your mind and open your heart basically to a lot of things. And because one thing that really was a total trip for me when I was there is the term Redskins. Here in America, me being Native, that's an offensive term towards Native Americans, and we don't condone that word. It's a racist term. But over there, I was walking around, and every other corner, every wall, there was a term Redskin. It was written everywhere next to ACAB. We won't talk about that part, but Redskin everywhere. And it was just bugging me out. And I'm like, I asked our host, like, what does that mean? Like, what does Redskin mean? And he goes, you know what, I'll let you talk to my homie once we get there. So we get there, I start talking to him. So what does Redskin mean here? Like, and I told him about how the U.S. goes, yeah, I know it's a defensive term. It was here. It goes back to I want to say like the Hitler days, to where the Jews were called the Redskins. They were the outcasts of that whole thing, just like the natives here were the outcasts, and they were trying to demolish them and all that. So that term goes way back then, and I found out that red, it's symbolism to the anti-fascists. The guys with red suspenders, red shoelaces. So, and then the skin part was, I guess if you want to say it, a good skinhead, if you want to say something like that. So there were the militia and anti-fascist type people who didn't condone any of that stuff. So I was like, wow, that was like one of the biggest trips for me, hearing people see that term all up on the walls everywhere, spray painted Redskin, Redskin, Redskin. And I'm like, if you didn't learn the history, it would probably trip you out if you never asked anybody what that meant.
Like
Yeah, that was a trip for me, seeing that and learning the history on that by a whole nother set of people. And the other tripped out part that really got to me is we got to go see a camp. We got to go visit a camp. Oh, wow. And that was probably one of the heaviest things I've ever been a part of, because we actually went in, and it was one of the camps where, they hate to talk about it, but they actually offed all the people there. That's where they'd started there, and just seeing all the things that they did. Like, from one of the craziest things that I saw is they would take their height. They would say, hey, do your height right here. They'd stand their back against the wall, and there was a trap door in the back, and then they would bust a cap in them. Wow. Pop, like, and yeah, they would say you're taking your height, but then there would be a trap door, and they would just shoot them. Wow, so I was like, that's wild. And yeah, and I was tripping out by then. I was like, I gotta get out of here. It got really heavy. Like, when you and it felt so I ran out. I had to get out of there. And I was like, that was too much. So we went, but that was one of the things that was tripped out for me, seeing the Redskin part, and then also going to a camp. And then on the lighter side, now we get to the lighter side part of it.
Yeah, man.
This is where I know that hip hop is universal. Hip hop is universal. Everybody there loved hip hop. They saw us there, and then we started talking about hip hop. We met a few local hip hop acts, and then we also went on the tour. I want to say we went to 15 cities. And that was cool, and we got to see other local acts, other local MCs, other local hip hop groups and stuff like that. So it was actually really, really dope, man, and connected with all of them. Kept in touch with a lot of them from over the years, and it's just long distance and different time zones, and it's night over here, day over there, so it's kind of hard to keep in touch. But we do reach out every now and then. But the hip hop scene out there it was pretty dope. Got us playing a lot of underground spots, like the old Blunt Club days, real small, tiny hole in the wall, but they made it happen. They put it together, and it was really dope, man. Going on the whole thing and being able to see it. Got near the Baltic Sea, which was. That was another trip too, just being up there by the Baltic Sea. You know, everybody's tall, blonde hair, blue eyes, and you see two natives and a Chicano walking around in the streets out there. You know, like you got long hair. That's when I had long hair, and they're like, all right, these guys don't belong here. But it was cool. We walked down, we got to see the ocean, almost got to the ocean, and everybody out there is barbecuing, having a good time, and I'm like, this is tight. So, but that was going to Germany was actually a really, really dope experience. So, if anybody out there wants to go somewhere, get your passport and just go. One thing about the Germany side too was portion size. This is the other part that was trippy to me. Portion size. Their larges were like our smalls. Those were their larges. So when we were doing this festival and then we went to go get this pizza, and I'm like, hey, what size do you guys want? They're like, you know what? They looked at me, Franco and Alex, like, they're Americans, so make sure you get them the large pizzas, like the biggest one they got. So, okay, large, I was like, that's gonna be too much. They're like, no, you guys will be fine. So they go get the pizza, they bring it back, and then there's just 3 boxes, and they're holding them like that, nothing crazy. Like, oh, okay. They open it up, and they're like, yeah, here's our large size. And it was basically like a personal pizza for American side. So they brought us their large, and it was a personal pan pizza, basically, if we were on the state side. And I was like, all right, well, we'll make it happen. It's cool. Like, so we knew not to complain because, like, we're in a whole other country and we ate it, but it was like a personal size pizza over here on the state side. So that was one of the more funnier things of that too. So, and another thing that's kind of cool too, being over there in Germany is you can drink the beer warm. That was kind of weird. So you see people walking around, they just open the beer and put it. Yeah. Another thing that was speaking of that. When you finished your beer, you would put the glass by the trash can. And I asked, like, why do you guys put it by the trash can? They're like, well, the bums, the homeless, they come and they get that glass and you can turn that in for money. Okay. And then I was like, oh, that's cool. So they know when you're done with your bottle of beer, you just put it by the trash can because they know somebody's gonna come collect it. Yeah. It's not gonna sit there all night. I was like, oh, that's cool. And they're big on recycling, so whatever beer you finished, you brought it back in a crate and they would give you credit towards the beer you're about to buy. So I was like, oh, that was a total trip for me too, seeing all that with the convenience stores and stuff like that too. So. Before we get there, we got to start to go back to where I started. It wasn't so glamorous back in the beginning. One of the first battles that I entered was here. Well, some on the res, but one of the ones that I entered was thrown by M2. Shout out to M2. Okay. It was at his old spot over here in Scottsdale called Sugar Daddy's. Yeah, so here I come. I go in thinking I knew some stuff. Went in there getting ready, and get up there. It's my turn, and it was a little different because I've never had like 30 people just staring at me. So I'm used to being in my room. You know, you're a little cocky in your room. You're like, oh, I got this. Doing your little tricks, thinking you're doing something. Yeah. I get up there and I get booed. So they start booing me, and I'm like, all right. So I finished my routine, and I was crushed at that point. I was like, oh, man, I got booed. Like, what did I do wrong? And then the other guy stepped up, and I was like, oh, okay. And then that's the first time I ever met Astonish. So shout out to my brother Astonish. Yeah, man. Met him there, and then at that moment, I kind of vowed to myself, I'm never gonna get booed again. So I took that and went home, and I just practiced until I got sick of practicing, and then I would practice again. So starting from that, we'll fast forward up to, I entered some local DMC battles too as well, Guitar Center battles. And again, shout out to Astonish, because I've never beat him in any of the Guitar Center battles. It was always me and him in the championship rounds, and I've never beat him. And so, but that's my brother all day, and I tell him that every time. You're the only person I never beat. Wow. It was always me and him in the finals of the battle. So and he made me better. He probably doesn't know that, but he made me better. So that pushed me more to just practice. And then fast forward again, I made it to the finals, local finals and some DMC battles. Fast forward again to the scratch battles. They were around, but they were getting bigger. So I would practice scratching, and that's like the part I fell in love with the most, pretty much, is the scratching, because it's kind of therapeutic to me. Because it's just you by yourself, and you just go to town, and it's like get in the zone, and next thing you know, like an hour's gone. So went into that, and then I won 1 or 2 battles here. Shout out to DJ Action, who threw some battles, the AZ Scratch Exchange. I happened to win 2 of those. And then another local battle that he threw. And I figured, you know what? Let me throw my hat in the ring. Let me see what I got. Let me see what I can do. So I went out to Los Angeles to a scratch battle they had there. It was the Tableless Lounge. Shout out to Tableless Lounge, LA. They threw a battle, and I was like, you know what, let me see what I got. I entered, we went, me and my wife with me. We get there, we're hanging out, and everyone's like, oh, like I met a few online through, like, of course, Instagram, Facebook, other online battles and stuff, and like, yo, you came all the way out here for this? I'm like, yeah. I was like, I'm not supposed to? Yeah. But everybody there showed love, like we're there, and it came the time to battle, and they drew the hats, names out of a hat. So, and I'm laughing to myself because I saw the names, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be my luck. I'm gonna get this person right here. And my wife looks at me and she goes, you don't know, let's see. So they pull the names out, Reflekshin and DJ IQ. And I was like, yo, are you serious? So DJ IQ is like a 5-time world scratch champion, like decorated. And I was like, oh, that's my luck. But my wife looked at me, she goes, well, came here for a reason. Let's do it. That's all she said. I was like, okay. So we went, he wound up winning, but it was a learning experience from that point. I'm like, when it comes to battling and stuff like that, I'm like, you never know who you're gonna get, and make sure you bring your A game. And just from me going to that, I gained more friends and more people in the battle scene, and scratching and all that. So from there, we'll fast forward to, there was another battle in LA at the Junkies Institute called LA Cut Fest. So again, I was like, you know what, I want to go to this, I gotta go. I was gonna go by myself. It's like, I'm going to this, I'm gonna enter this, I'm gonna go. So I entered, my wife couldn't make it at the time, and my boy Franco, shout out to Franco, Bronze Canada, he goes, I'm down, let's go. Okay, so we went, we got there, checked in, we're hanging out. Made it through the prelims, made it all the way, went into the finals, and I wound up winning that battle, which was actually really, really dope, because it's at the Junkies Institute, all the junkies are there, all the other homies that I knew were there, all the LA heavy hitters were there too. And I was like, yo, I won. Like, and it was a big deal. I never knew how much it was a big deal it was for somebody from the Phoenix side to go to LA and win a battle. And I was like, yo, and everybody's like, yo, that's so dope. And I thought it blew my mind when I won. And I said, the winner is me. And I was like, oh, that's like, I was wild. I was like, yo, I won a battle in LA. I was like, man, this is crazy. So went to that, came back, practiced some more, some local battles here. And then I went out to San Diego, and I won the San Diego scratch battle out there too as well. Nice. And that was a whole other shock too. And it's just one of those things where I was like, oh, I actually won, made it to the finals, made it to the prelims. I was like, all right, and then the nerves start kicking in a little bit, you start getting a little shaky. You're like, and of all things, you don't want your hands to be shaky when you're scratching. When you're in a scratch battle, you don't want your hands to be shaky. So I was like, oh man, and so my wife looked at me again, she said, well, we're here for a reason. You came here for a reason. So I was like, okay. Grounded me a little bit, went into the battle, wound up winning, and yeah, so it's a good feeling when you win, but also I know what it feels like to lose. So I try to keep that balanced and just go back and practice. I still practice like I didn't win now every day. Every time I get a chance to practice, I practice like I haven't won anything. So that's what kind of keeps me grounded, because you never know. Anybody can come in and clean your clock. So, because somebody was probably out there hungrier than me before I won. So, you know, you always got to stay ready. So that's some of the stories from the battles that I've entered. So. Man, that was a good question, and I watched a lot of the episodes, and like, man, how do people answer? How do people really answer that? And I was, you know what? I'll just keep it simple and I'll keep it real. I enjoy all the love, and I also enjoy the hate that comes with it, because you got to be balanced. But knowing that I'm extremely loved is a whole nother process, because now I have a son. That love, now I know what like love is, like love, and then my wife as well. And then everybody I've met over the years has always been love, even people I haven't talked to in years. And the love is there, like, you know the love is there. So when you see each other, you dap each other up, you're like, hey, and it feels like you just saw them yesterday, and it was like 5 years later. And I mean, it's a special feeling, man. I mean, anybody, Anybody that's ever showed me love over the years, I love you right back. And, you know, unfortunately, I've lost some people I've never got to say that to over the years. And I'm pretty sure everybody has somebody that they wish they could say, you know what, I love you back, I respect you. Like, so now, like, knowing that I'm loved, I don't take any of it for granted. I keep that with me. And everybody I've met over the years who've showed me love, I love you guys right back. Even though we don't talk so much, even if we had beef or whatever, I'd rather live more on the love side than anything, because if not, like one of my favorite quotes from a movie, American History X, is that hate is baggage. Right. So, you know, if you keep that with you, it's just gonna weigh you down. So now I try to stay more on the love side and just show everybody props, everybody daps. Even if you spoke ill of me, if you speak ill of me, anything like that, I'm like, you know what, that's, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. So I try to stay more on love, and it is love for everybody, so. All right, so shout outs, man. I'm gonna take it way back. I gotta give a shout out to DJ Cedro with Angola G Productions. He's one of the guys who invited me out to go to the jams back in Farmington. He's like, hey, we're playing over here. We got some B-boys that'll be getting down. I was like, oh, okay, hip hop scene. Shout out to the Foundations of Freedom out there too. Out there were some of the first B-boys that I met. Resmanian Floor Devils. Man, I could go on and on. DJ Abel Rock for giving me my first club gig. Shout out to KP, who kept booking me, giving me DJ gigs. Of course, Furious Styles crew. Man, and here we go. DJ Action, Les 735, Fact 135, Astonish, MC Smooth, AKA Mr. Miranda. They didn't know about that, did you? But man, thank you for having me on the show. Thanks for all the love. Man, Blunt Club, Dumper, Pixter. Man, I could go on and on for days, guys, and just everybody I've ever met in the DJ culture, the hip-hop scene, the turntablist scene. Shout out to all y'all, man. Thank you, and yeah, that's my 5.
And there you have it. Man, nothing but love and respect to my brother DJ Reflekshin. I tell you, that guy got me wanting to go to Germany. You know what I'm saying? That sounds so interesting. And, you know, he's just, you know, been a staple, like I said, in the scene out here for so many years. Great guy, known him for a long time, always been solid. And this was a real treat to have him on the show. You know, nothing but love and respect to you, my brother. Wish you nothing but continued success. Make sure you guys are following him on social media. And then shout out to my brother, Jimmy Nelson, on that camera. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend. All right. Well, this was another great one for the books. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. And until next time, stay tuned, stay blessed, stay healthy. Just give me 5.